welcome to another episode of Historical Markers. Today we're in Saline County, Illinois, and we're going to bring you several markers from this area. I hope you're as excited as I am. I know there's going to be some really interesting things to learn in Saline County, so let's just get right on with it. This marker is in Galatia, Illinois. It says the tobacco industry. From the creation of Saline County in 1847 to the end of the century, the production of tobacco was the principal industry. In 1870, Saline County had the highest tobacco production in the state. The Weber brothers of Galatia and Raleigh were the largest buyers and processors in the county. Some years they exported 1,500,000 pounds of tobacco. All right, we are at the Galatia United Methodist Church in Galatia, Illinois, the oldest active Methodist church in Saline County. It was organized prior to 1845. Present church was erected in 1896, dedicated to fulfillment of Christ's counsel to us all. We are in Raleigh, Illinois, and this is the marker for the Ingersoll Law Office, 1855 to 1857. 200 feet east of here was the Ingersoll Law Office. Eben Clark Ingersoll and Robert Green Ingersoll, his younger brother, before they moved to Peoria, had a successful law practice in the Saline County Circuit Court, which met in Raleigh, which was the first county seat of Saline County in 1847 to 1859. We're here at Wolf Creek Cemetery outside, right at the edge of Eldorado, Illinois. And this sign is for the Kaskaskia Trail. The Kaskaskia Trail was an early pioneer trail that played an important part in the history and development of Saline County. The trail extended from Shawneetown on the Ohio River, past the salt works near Equality, and on to Kaskaskia, the capital of the Illinois Territory, on the Mississippi River. Salt from the salt works was hauled to Kaskaskia via the trail, which was also used by a steady stream of pioneers migrating from the east and southeast. Many of them settled in Saline County. A portion of the original trail is still evident in Wolf Creek Cemetery, now just a depression in the hill near the cannon and the flagpole. We're still in Wolf Creek Cemetery, and we are here at this marker, which is for the Wolf Creek Primitive Baptist Church. It says, Meeting House, Wolf Creek Primitive Baptist Church, organized before 1830. Wolf Creek Primitive Baptist Church was organized sometime before 1830. The first meetings were held in the Brown Blockhouse, which was located where the flagpole now stands, which was on the Kaskaskia Trail, the vestiges of which can be seen running from the southeast to the west. Trails were narrow for a single horse pulling sleds and people on foot. When they widened to accommodate wagons, they were called a trace. The first church was a log structure located at the top of the hill. The present church was constructed in 1901. Worship services with singing are much the same as they were in pioneer times. Shape note singing is practiced. Primitive or regular Baptist articles of faith adhere to strict rules of interpretation from the Bible, using it alone as the only rule of faith and order. Worldly adornments such as Sunday schools, collections, mechanical music, and a paid ministry is not practiced. This simplicity is viewed as reflective of the beauty which Christ gave his church at the very beginning. New Hope Primitive Baptist Church was combined with Wolf Creek in 2003. The bell is from the New Hope Church. So when some bells were cast, silver dollars were thrown into the molten metal to give the finished product a distinctive tone. Just tap it lightly with your knuckles. We are still in Eldorado, Illinois, and this marker is for the homestead of Judge Samuel Elder. Here was located the home of Samuel Elder, co-founder of Eldorado, now called Eldorado, judge of the county court 1849 to 1856, school commissioner, collector, internal revenue, justice of the peace, and farmer. He and his son William, together with Joseph and William Reed, laid out the village of Eldorado August 22nd, 1857. We're in Eldorado at the old City Hall building, which is currently housing, I think, the History Museum. The sign is here, and it says the city, Eldorado, the city of daffodils. It was founded in 1857 by Judge Samuel Elder and Joseph Reed. Originally named Eldorado, or Rado, legend has it that the name was changed by railroad sign painters who thought the spelling incorrect. The junction of the Pioneer era Kaskaskia Trail and Goshen Trail was located just south of the city. The Kaskaskia ran from Shawneetown through the city on what is now State Street and on to the first state capitol. The Goshen Trail began here and ran along the east edge of the city and on to Goshen, located near East St. Louis. This is a fun one, guys. This is fun. The British invasion begins. George Harrison becomes the first Beatle to play in America. On September 28, 1963, America got its first taste of English rock and roll. 5 months before the beginning of Beatlemania. Before the Beatles played on the Ed Sullivan Show, George Harrison, lead guitarist for the British band, became the first Beatle to play publicly in America at the VFW Hall, located at 1201 Veterans Drive in Eldorado. During the summer of 1963, although the Beatles had a #1 hit in England, the band was still unknown in the United States. When their band members took a holiday, Harrison and his brother Peter visited their sister Louise in Benton, Illinois, which is in Franklin County, making friends, camping in the Garden of the Gods, and watching a parade in Harrisburg. George bought a guitar in Mount Vernon and later played it at Beatles performances. 2 nights before returning to England, George and his siblings came to the VFW Hall to hear the Four Vests, a popular local band. The band, which had already jammed with George in his sister's living room, asked George to sit in, introducing Harrison as the Elvis of England. George Harrison made his American debut playing songs such as Johnny Be Good, Your Cheatin' Heart, and Teddy Bear in front of between 75 and 100 people. After the performance, one of those present said that with the right kind of backing, that kid may go places. Isn't that just an awesome story? It is just so cool, I think. Right here in tiny Eldorado, Illinois. You just never know. We are in Harrisburg, Illinois, and this marker is for Dr. Lewis and the Lewis Sanatorium. Pioneering black physician James Henry Lewis, from 1888 to 1963, was born in North Carolina. Because of limited educational opportunities available to black students at that time and place, he moved to Illinois, where he worked to put himself through both Wheaton Academy and Wheaton College. After graduation from Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee, and an internship at City Hospital in St. Louis, Dr. Lewis learned of the need for a black physician in Harrisburg, then the largest city in southeastern Illinois. He moved to Harrisburg in 1923, and owing to the need for a hospital to treat black patients in that segregated area In 1927, he opened his own hospital, the Lewis Sanatorium, at 407 East Walnut Street. There, the doctor welcomed all patients without regard to race. Dr. Lewis was highly respected in the community, and Lewis Street in Harrisburg was named in his honor. This marker is for Virginia Gregg. Actress Virginia Gregg was born at 325 East Locust Street in Harrisburg on March 6, 1916. In an acting career spanning 40 plus years, she appeared in no less than 1,200 radio and television dramas and more than 40 motion pictures, usually in supporting roles. Her television work included roles in Gunsmoke, Dragnet, Dr. Kildare, The Twilight Zone, The Waltons, and many others. Film castings included Spencer's Mountain, Operation Petticoat, and as the off-screen voice of the mummified mother in all 3 Psycho films. Oh, wow, cool. Sorry, I digress. Her skill and versatility led her to be described as the actress's actress. Virginia Gregg died in Encino, California on September 15th, 1986. All right, we are here at Harrisburg's City Hall. Very tall building with these pillars. And the pillars are bricked. That's pretty interesting. But it is on the National Register of Historic Places. It was erected in 1926 and registered in 1988. All right, we're looking at this clock here in Harrisburg. It says this clock was preserved by the Saline County Historical Society and donated to Harrisburg Operation Pride for the people of Saline County. The clock and the bell, there's a bell in there, was manufactured by the Howard Clock Company of Boston, Massachusetts, and was in use from 1904 to 1967 in the old courthouse. We're here at the corner of the Saline County Courthouse in Harrisburg, Illinois for this marker. It says Harrisburg. James A. Harris moved to this area in the 1820s and established a sawmill and mule barn near the present corner of Vine and Church Streets. Harris, John Kane, John Pankey, and James Yandall donated land for the town site. Platted in 1853, the area was known as Crusoe's Island because it resembled an island during the frequent floods of the time. The first business was a grocery store built of logs, operated by James Feasel. Located south of the city square on what is now Poplar Street, the county seat officially moved from Raleigh to Harrisburg in 1859. This is the Pauper Cemetery. This cemetery, called the Pauper Cemetery, has burials going as far back as 1849, contains stone markers with record of 263 burials, at least 60 of which were children. These records indicate that not only people from the poor farm were buried here, but it was the county burial site for unknown vagrants, murder victims, people killed in the nearby coal mine, abandoned, and deceased children. Colored and Caucasian were buried side by side from the very beginning, death being the only criteria for a place. The custom of the time was for those not having a funeral to be buried the same day, which brought about the following justifications in the burial notes. Run over by train at Wasson. Gunshot wound. Unknown baby girl found in sewer. Ugh. Gunshot wound administered by chief of police. Shot by Charlie Berger at Ledford. That's a whole nother series there, the Charlie Berger series. Daddy, Lithuania wife still in Europe. Found dead in ditch. Carnival worker, murdered. Left leg of Charlie Yates. Ogara number 3 coal mine accident. So those were some of the reasons marked for people being buried here. We're here in Harrisburg at the Saline Creek Pioneer Village, and there's lots of markers over there. This marker is for the pauper house or the poor house. This house, built in 1877 with an addition in 1904, was the effort of the culture of that area to take care of the poor. As early as 1819, the Illinois General Assembly enacted a pauper bill requiring county commissioners to appoint overseers of the poor for each township. Usually a pauper's family received aid for the care of those of the house who could not care for themselves. By 1839, the almshouse method of public welfare was introduced, in which a building would be built on county land and pauper labor would farm it. One person could then oversee the operation. This farm originally contained 175 acres under the almshouse law, using log buildings for many years until the brick building was constructed. The idealistic notion that people would gladly work for their subsistence soon met reality. The poor farm became an orphanage, a jail, an insane asylum, and a place for refugees, i.e. a social dumping ground for the outcast and deplored. Okay, this is the marker on the pauper house. This building was erected in 1877 for the residency of the poor of Saline County. The building and its site is listed on the National Registry of Historic Places. This plaque has been placed here by the Saline County Historical Society and by the Saline County Tourism Board. The Chenal School was built in 1919 to replace the original log cabin school built in 1859. It was moved from the original site located in Section 8 of Raleigh Township in 1971 and contains the original desks, blackboards, and books. All right, blockhouses. That's what this next marker is about. It says, migration into Illinois began with the French from 1690 and reached its peak about 1750, mostly along the Mississippi. English settlement began in earnest in 1790, but these settlements had important differences in the way they were begun. The French looked upon their efforts as merchants and missionaries, with farming supplementing the need for trade, mostly along a river, not inland. The result had mutual benefit for both. The American migration followed treaty settlements, which resulted in large parcels being distributed through English law, ignoring previous rights. Encroachment thus ensued, and a great deal of hard feelings between Indians and settlers who seemed to lay out their settlements on the interior, where the game was, and along migration routes. Many Indians allied with the British to resist the settlements, although it must be said that trade with the Americans was an important reason why peace was made with the tribes. The War of 1812 and the Black Hawk War was largely conflicts brought on by the American immigration and conflict between the British and American ideas. Because of the brutality of the type of warfare, fear of attack upon isolated farmsteads became a part of the thinking of the settlers' strategy. Indian populations were never very large, and it wasn't long before settlers outnumbered indigenous people, so blockhouses never lasted long and were only used for a short period of time. However, it is incorrect to picture a pioneer village without a blockhouse, because it was a very important element in their settlement. This is the River Pirate's Cabin. Ooh, that sounds really cool. Let's see what it says. This cabin was also known as the Wilson Cabin, the Mystery Cabin, and the Dog Gibson property. The cabin was built about 1790 on a cliff's edge overlooking the Ohio River at Elizabethtown, Illinois. The site afforded a view of the river more than 10 miles either up or down the river. It was part of a strategy by river pirate James Wilson, also known as James Ford, to locate boats from the cliff and signal co-conspirators lurking on Hurricane Island, which was directly across the river from the cabin. He could also send a rider down the small crevice to notify cohorts further downriver. This building, the marker says, is the adelet barn and thrashing floor. The adelet barn is a double crib design, which includes a corn crib on the east end and a crib on the west end for housing stock. Before mechanization, wheat was cut with a scythe, shocked in the field, and then brought to the thrashing floor. The wheat grains were separated from the chaff on the thrashing floor and then swept up and put in sacks. This may be the last thrashing floor remaining in the Midwest. So it's really neat. I'm sure the plastic chair there isn't original, but this is the adolet cabin. The adolets, French pioneers from Kaskaskia, built this cabin in 1849. It was originally located in the community of Somerset, which was the first settlement in Saline County. In 1853, a second room was added, saddlebag fashion, with the large fireplace opening into both rooms. The family lived in this home for over 100 years. Very, very cool. This marker is for the Cane Church. Society of Friends, the Quakers, built the Cane Church in 1871 as their meeting house and has since been used by several denominations. It was originally located southwest of Harrisburg in Section 20. The hog scalding kettle. In the butchering process, a hog was killed, then scalded in a kettle of hot but not boiling water. Scalding loosened the hair, allowing its removal by scraping. If the water was too cool or too hot, then the hair was not loosened, making scraping difficult. Thus, the old-timer term, get a good scald, referred to doing a job just right. This is the Gard and Chaussier salt kettles. These kettles date from the 1850s when they were used in the local salt industry. Naturally occurring salt brine was pulled from the ground, then boiled in numerous kettles to produce salt. Saline County derived its name from these salt wells or salt licks located near its eastern border. This marker is outside of Carrier Mills, Illinois, and it is the Carrier Mills Archaeological District. This area of some 143 acres, located approximately 2 miles south of Carrier Mills, was inhabited by prehistoric people throughout 3 different archaeological periods. Until the turn of the century, the South Fork of the Saline River was a meandering stream with large areas of swamps and shallow cypress lakes nearby. These areas were rich in plants and animals that prehistoric inhabitants sought for food. Therefore, the locality became a natural focal point for human settlement. In 1978 and 1979, archaeologists intensively investigated this area. Excellent preservation conditions permitted the recovery of many tools and animal and plant remains that have provided significant new insights into the prehistory of southern Illinois. We are here at the Carrier Mills in Stoneford High School for this marker, which is in memory of all of our sons who so nobly served their country in World War II. And it's got the names of those veterans that served. It's got this some really nice etchings in the stone. I'm just going to get up a little closer to some of these. There you go. And that was today's episode of Historical Markers from Saline County, Illinois. I hope you learned as much as I did. If you've got some suggestions or questions, make a comment down below. I'd be glad to communicate with you about them. And stick around. We've got lots more historical markers to come.